In this video, I want to walk through how I review an automated trading strategy inside Vantage. If you have alerts coming from TradingView, your own script, or any other strategy workflow, you still need one clean place to review what actually happened after those alerts became trades. So I am starting on the signals page because this is where the route is defined before I ever look at performance. The first question is simple. Where does the alert come in, and what is it allowed to touch? Step 1 is the alert connection. In a live setup, this is where the listener and public webhook endpoint are managed. Step 2 is the destination group. That is the group of accounts that can receive the signal. I do not want a random alert reaching every account by accident, so I want the destination to be explicit. Then I look at the route itself. In this demo, the main route is called NQ Open Drive. The important setting here is the signal behavior. Some routes are target position based, meaning the alert is trying to get the account to a final position size. Other routes are delta based, meaning the alert is treated like a literal order instruction. That difference matters because it changes how flips, reductions, and exits should be interpreted. The next piece is the message template. This is the part a lot of people skip, but I actually like showing it because it removes the mystery. The strategy needs to send a consistent payload. The route token identifies which strategy should handle the alert, and the fields in the message tell Vantage the side, symbol, quantity, and signal ID. I am not saying everybody has to use this exact setup, but the principle is the same. Clean alert in, controlled route, clear destination, and then the review starts after the trades exist. Once the route is configured, I go back to the dashboard to see the week at a high level. I am not trying to make a decision from one number. I want a quick read on whether the system is producing the kind of week I expected before I drill into the details. After the dashboard, I like going into one actual day. This is where I slow down. A strategy can have a green week and still have a problem hiding inside one session. It can also have a red day that is completely normal and does not need a dramatic rebuild. In day view, I am checking the session like an operator. Did the strategy trade during the window it was supposed to trade? Did it take the number of trades I expected? Was the red or green result coming from one clean decision, or did the system fire repeatedly in a condition where it should have stood down? I also want the notes beside the data. If the review says the market was choppy or that one rule fired too early, that context should live next to the day instead of in a random note somewhere else. For this example, the day is not the whole story, it is one sample. But it helps me decide what question to ask next. If the day looks normal, I move to statistics. If the day looks strange, I would come back here and write down exactly what was strange before touching the strategy rules. This is the page I care about most when I am reviewing an automated system. A lot of people stop at win rate, but win rate by itself can be misleading. A high win rate strategy can still be bad if the losses are too large. A lower win rate strategy can be fine if the winners are large enough and the drawdown stays controlled. So the first thing I look at is the relationship between expectancy, profit factor, drawdown, and average win versus average loss. Expectancy tells me what the average trade is worth. Profit factor tells me whether the winners are meaningfully covering the losers. Max drawdown tells me how much pain the strategy created while producing the result. Then I look at the breakdown. In this demo, NQ Open Drive is carrying most of the performance, while the ES Reclaim idea is clearly weaker. That does not automatically mean ES is bad forever. It means I should not treat both routes like they deserve the same size or the same confidence. If one market is carrying the system and another market is dragging, I want that visible. This is also where I separate a real issue from a feeling. If the drawdown is inside the normal range, I do not want to overreact. If the expectancy is slipping for one symbol but not the other, that is a targeted research question. Maybe the filter needs to be tighter, maybe the session window is wrong, maybe the route should stay active on NQ and be reduced on ES until there is more proof. Once the statistics give me the question, the trade log gives me the receipts. This is where I stop guessing from the summary. I want to see the actual rows. I want to compare winners and losers. I want to know whether the same setup keeps paying or whether one condition is quietly leaking money. For automated strategies, this matters even more because I did not manually click into most of these trades. I might remember the market being clean, but the trade log tells me what the system actually did. The row gives me the symbol, direction, quantity, entry time, exit time, result, and account. If I see a cluster of losses around the same time of day, that becomes useful. If I see that one account is sized differently, that is useful too. The goal is not to stare at rows forever. The goal is to find the next trade worth inspecting. A good review process moves from summary to filtered rows to one specific receipt. That keeps me from changing rules based on a vague feeling. Now I open one trade because this is where the review becomes specific. The trade detail is where I check whether the row makes sense visually. I am looking at the entry, the exit, the quantity, the duration, the fees, and the chart context together. If the chart shows the entry came late, maybe the issue is signal timing. If the trade entered correctly but the exit gave back too much, maybe the exit logic needs work. If the loss is clean and inside the model, I do not want to punish the strategy just because the result was red. That is the whole point of this kind of review. I am trying to tell the difference between a valid loss and a broken behavior. I also like checking duration. A strategy that is supposed to catch the opening drive should not randomly be holding into a completely different part of the day unless that is part of the plan. The chart, the timestamps, and the result should tell the same story. If they do not, I have something concrete to investigate instead of just saying the strategy feels off. The last step is the part most people skip. I write down what I am actually going to change or what I am specifically not going to change. If the data says NQ Open Drive is still behaving well, I do not need to rebuild it because of one ugly candle. If the ES Reclaim route is underperforming, I can reduce size, pause it, or add a stronger confirmation rule and then review the next sample. That is what the playbook is for. It turns the review into an operating note. What is the setup supposed to do? What invalidates it? What needs to be tested next? I want that decision tied to the data, not buried in my memory. So that is the workflow. Alerts come into a controlled route. The dashboard gives me the weekly read. Dayview gives me session context. Statistics tells me where the edge is or is not showing up. Trade log gives me the receipts, and the trade detail shows whether the execution made sense on the chart. If you run automated strategies, you need more than alerts and executions. You need a place to review the outcome data like a business. That is what I use Vantage for. If this walkthrough helped, subscribe to the channel. I am going to keep building out more videos on strategy review, trading data, and the full Vantage workflow.